So we all know the story of the Trojan horse, right?
We have the classic Greek myth.
Yeah, exactly. The Greeks are staring at this huge impenetrable wall at Troy, and they realize they can't break in by force. So they build this massive wooden statue, hide inside, and basically just wait for the Trojans to willingly roll it right through their own front door.
It's a great story and honestly a perfect metaphor.
It is. But, today's digital equivalents, they aren't hiding in giant wooden statues. They're hiding in a supposed PDF from your boss or like a fake calculator app.
Yeah.
Or they're secretly injecting themselves directly into your computer's own memory.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
So our mission for this deep dive today is to completely demystify this complex, often invisible world of malicious software. We're using an official cybersecurity curriculum, specifically CEH version 13, modules 07, as our roadmap. We want to shortcut you to being the most informed person in the room about how these digital threats actually operate, way beyond those, Hollywood hacking stereotypes of green text raining down a black screen.
Right, because the reality of modern malware is just, it's far more subtle than some brute force cyber attack. When we really look at the architecture of these threats, it's not just about, identifying bad lines of code.
Right.
It's about understanding the psychology, the systemic vulnerabilities that allow this code to thrive in the first place. I mean, the core mechanism hasn't changed in 3,000 years. It's deception. Your computer's blind trust in you is actually its biggest vulnerability.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because traditional hacking always feels like a burglar picking the lock on your front door, right?
Yeah, that's the common perception.
But these modern distribution methods like fake MP3 download sites or manipulated documents, they're more like the burglar dressing up as a delivery driver and just, convincing you to literally hand over your keys. It's an invitation.
Exactly. And they have an endless wardrobe of costumes. I mean, let's look at something as old school as a USB drive.
Oh, yeah. The classic thumb drive in the parking lot.
Right. You find a thumb drive, you plug it into your laptop just out of curiosity, and boom, you instantly compromise your machine.
But why does that happen? It actually relies on a Windows feature called autorun.infef.
Right, which, if I remember correctly, was originally designed purely for user convenience. Back in the day, when you plugged in a CD-ROM or a USB, a menu would automatically pop up asking what you wanted to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be helpful.
Yeah.
But underneath the hood, that autorun file is basically a script giving the operating system immediate instructions the millisecond the drive is mounted.
The millisecond.
Wow.
Yeah.
So an attacker drops a tiny hidden autorun file onto that thumb drive. The moment the metal contacts connect inside your USB port, that script tells the OS, hey, run this executable file immediately in the background. It silently executes the malicious payload before you've even, opened folder to look at what's on the drive.
So you've literally invited them in without even clicking anything. Precisely. And it's not just physical media either. We also see this with Black Hat SEO, which is a fascinating manipulation of trust.
Right, where attackers aggressively game the search engine algorithms. They use keyword stuffing or networks of fake pages so that when you search for something mundane, like a free PDF converter, their malicious website is the #1 result on Google.
And you click it because, we all trust that top result, right?
Exactly. And clicking that link can trigger what's known as a drive-by download.
Yeah, which is terrifying because you don't even have to click a download button on the page itself. The sheer act of just loading the web page is enough.
Wait, how does that actually work, though? If I don't explicitly click download, how does the file magically get onto my machine?
Well, it exploits flaws in how your web browser renders information. Like when you load a page, your browser is silently downloading and executing dozens of scripts just to display the text in the images.
Oh, right, because it has to build the page for you to see it.
Exactly. So a malicious page contains specialized JavaScript that targets a known vulnerability in the browser's rendering engine. Maybe it's a buffer overflow, where it literally shoves too much data into the browser's memory until it crashes a specific process.
And that crash creates an opening.
Yeah, it creates a tiny loophole to drop a payload directly onto your hard drive.
Man, so the browser gets tricked into executing the payload just by trying to read the page. It really blurs the line between what is safe and what is dangerous, which I guess brings up this massive gray area of PUAs or potentially unwanted applications.
Adware is the classic example here. I mean, legitimate software developers sometimes bundle their free programs with adware to just, make a profit.
Right, like uTorrent, the file sharing client.
Yeah, uTorrent is a great example.
Yeah.
Many security vendors classify it as a PUA.
Yeah.
It's not strictly illegal malware. It isn't like trying to encrypt your files for ransom.
But it's not exactly benign either. I mean, adware tracks your browsing habits. It can cause intense system lag, change your default browser homepage, and just inundate you with pop-ups. It consumes your system's resources without your explicit informed consent.
It's basically a parasite. It operates in this legal gray zone where you technically agreed to it on, like, page 42 of a terms of service agreement you definitely didn't read.
Which nobody reads.
Exactly. But what happens when we move past that gray area? What happens when a user is genuinely tricked into downloading a file they think is a free video player, and they actually double-click it?
This is where we get into the architecture of trojans, which are just the absolute masters of deception. And to really grasp how dangerous they are, we have to look at the golden rule of operating systems, right? A Trojan operates at the exact same privilege level as the victim who executes it.
That is the fundamental foundation of the threat. The computer does not know the difference between you clicking a button and a program simulating a click. So if you are logged in as an administrator on your laptop and you accidentally launch a Trojan, well, that Trojan is now an administrator. It inherits all of your digital power. It can read, delete, and install literally anything you can.
But attackers don't just send you raw, obvious malware, do they? Modern Trojans are constructed using highly specific modular components.
Yeah, it's like building blocks.
Right.
It usually starts with a dropper or a downloader. These are your covert carriers.
Like a smuggler.
Exactly. A dropper doesn't necessarily look like malware to an antivirus scanner because its only job is to drop the real malware onto the disk quietly. And a downloader is similar, but it fetches the malware from the internet only after it's securely inside your system.
Okay, so to get that dropper past your defenses in the first place, attackers use something called a wrapper.
Yeah. Think of this as glueware. Programs like iExpress can bind a malicious executable to a genuinely useful application.
So you click the file, and the wrapper separates the two components. In the foreground, it runs the legitimate program. Maybe it's a funny animation of a dancing birthday cake that a friend supposedly sent you.
Your eyes are completely on the cake. Your CPU is rendering the cake.
Right. Meanwhile, completely in the background, the wrapper is executing the dropper.
Yes. But there's a catch. Right. Antivirus software looks for known malicious signatures, so attackers have to add another layer, a cryptor. This software encrypts the malicious payload, scrambling the code so it just looks like complete gibberish to an antivirus scanner.
Okay, let me stop you there because this is where my mind gets totally twisted. If a cryptor scrambles the code into gibberish, doesn't the antivirus scan this giant, scrambled, unreadable file and immediately flag it like, hey, I can't read this, it looks incredibly suspicious? How does wrapping a bad file with a good file actually fool modern security?
That's a great question. It's all about where the decryption happens. Think of the antivirus like a bouncer at the front door of a club, right? It's checking the IDs of files saved to the hard drive.
Okay, I follow.
When the wrapper runs, it doesn't decrypt that scrambled payload back onto the hard drive where the bouncer can see it. It decrypts the payload directly into the system's RAM, the active memory.
Wait, really? So it never touches the hard drive as a readable file?
Never. This is called fileless malware execution. The malicious code runs entirely in the volatile memory space of that dancing birthday cake animation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The antivirus scanned the hard drive, saw nothing recognizable, and just moved on.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the birthday cake stops dancing, the payload is already active in your memory, and your system is compromised.
It's literal digital sleight of hand. And what's wild to me is that the tools to do this are terrifyingly accessible today. You don't even have to be a coding genius anymore.
Not at all. There are Trojan construction kits now.
Like the NJRX kit. It's basically point-and-click software. You just, check some boxes on a menu, and suddenly you've built a custom payload that can log keystrokes, manipulate the victim's file system, and even open a live remote command line to their computer.
We are seeing the full industrialization of malware. Attackers are utilizing really sophisticated supply chains, and once these modular tools get inside, they've evolved from generic troublemakers into highly specialized hitmen.
Right. So we've moved from the digital equivalent of a street mugger to a spiralized Ocean's 11 crew. Like, one guy is a safecracker for retail systems, another is a forgery expert faking bank websites. Let's look at the forgery experts first. E-banking Trojans.
Yeah, these are nasty. They don't just steal a password and run anymore. They actively manipulate your transaction in real time.
Like using TAN grabbers, right?
Exactly. A TAN is a transaction authentication number, that single-use password your bank texts you to confirm a money transfer. These Trojans just sit quietly on your machine until you try to move money.
So they're waiting for you to initiate the action.
Yep. They intercept the valid TAN you type in, replace it with a random invalid number as the bank rejects your transfer, and then the attacker secretly uses your real intercepted TAN to authorize their own fraudulent transfer in the background.
That's insane. But the technique that really blew my mind from the deep dive material is HTML injection, because the Trojan literally alters the code of the legitimate banking website. But it doesn't hack the bank's servers to do it right.
No, no. It alters the web page as it renders locally on your screen.
On my actual monitor.
Yeah, this is a crucial distinction. Normally, we trust the little padlock icon in our browser. We trust HTTPS encryption. We think, okay, the tunnel between my computer and the bank is completely secure.
But HTML injection doesn't attack the tunnel. It waits until the data comes out of the tunnel, gets decrypted by your web browser, and is just sitting in your computer's memory waiting to be drawn on the screen.
Exactly. The Trojan modifies the local document object model, the DOM. It basically injects fake form fields, asking for your credit card PIN or your date of birth directly into the page layout.
So you think you're giving it to your bank because the URL is completely correct, the connection is supposedly secure, but you're typing it into a localized fake field created by the malware itself.
It's seamless. A perfect example of this hyper-targeted deception is a Trojan called Cherdy Cloak. It starts as a fake PDF, and when you open it, it utilizes a technique known as DLL sideloading.
Okay, DLL sideloading. Let's break that down because it exploits how Windows fundamentally runs programs, right? Like programs don't contain all their own code. They rely on dynamic link libraries, DLLs.
Right, which are basically just shared folders of code that multiple programs can use so they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. So when a legitimate program starts, it asks the OS, hey, go find me this specific DLL so I can function. But Windows has a specific search order. Usually it checks the local folder where the program itself is sitting before it checks the secure system folders.
And that's the vulnerability. The attacker just drops a maliciously crafted DLL into the same folder as a trusted benign application and gives it the exact same name as the legitimate DLL.
So the trusted program launches, blindly grabs the malicious local file instead of the real one, and suddenly the bad code is running disguised as a trusted process.
Yep. And once Chevy Cloak sideloads, it actively freezes the victim's screen and generates deceptive pop-ups. You literally can't click away while it steals your credentials.
That's terrifying.
It is. But these specialized hitmen aren't just on laptops either. Point of sale, or POS, systems are massive targets now. Think about the credit card readers at literally any retail store.
Historically, POS malware was basically just a digital skimmer. It targeted the TRACE1 and TRACE2 data. That's the information physically encoded on the magnetic stripe of your credit card, like your name, account number, expiration date.
Right.
But the world mostly moved away from swiping to inserting the CHAP, the EMV system, which was supposed to be infinitely more secure.
It was supposed to be. But, you know, the arms race in cybersecurity never stops.
Ooh.
Let's look at a POS Trojan called Fileless.
Oh.
The whole point of the EMV chip is that it generates a unique cryptographic signature, an EMV cryptogram, for every single transaction.
Meaning you can't just copy it like a magnetic stripe because the code changes every single time you use it.
Right. So how does Fileless bypass it? It acts as a middleman.
Right.
Fileless sits directly between the physical card reader and the store's payment software. It intercepts the communication.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to copy the chip. It tricks the terminal by capturing the transaction data and generating completely new, fraudulent EMV cryptograms in real time. It basically forces the system to approve ghost transactions.
That is wild. And how did these highly complex POS Trojans actually get installed on a store's register in the first place? It usually isn't some elite hacking maneuver, it's social engineering.
Almost always.
Attackers literally call the retail store, pose as corporate IT support, and just convince the clerk behind the counter to let them install a software update remotely using a legitimate desktop sharing app like AnyDesk.
The human element is always the weakest link, always. And that perimeter is expanding rapidly into mobile and IoT devices too. There's an Android Trojan called Chameleon that physically impersonates the Google Chrome app icon on your phone.
Oh, so you think you're just opening Chrome?
Exactly. And if you click it, it asks for accessibility service permissions.
Which are super powerful permissions, right? They're designed to help visually impaired users by allowing the phone to read the screen out loud or simulate taps. But once Chameleon gets that permission,
It can literally read everything rendered on your screen and just take over your accounts.
wow. And then you have the Internet of Things, smart devices. The deep dive sources mentioned Microsoft researchers tracking a threat known as the Open SSH Trojan, targeting Linux-based IoT devices.
Right, things like smart routers or security cameras.
And SSH stands for Secure Shell. It's the encrypted command line protocol that network admins use to securely log into servers and devices to manage them remotely.
And the Trojan tampers with that very protocol. It steals the SSH credentials to spread across the network, and then it quietly hijacks the processing power of those devices to mine cryptocurrency.
So your smart fridge could be part of a criminal enterprise, crunching math for a hacker's crypto wallet, and you literally never know.
Never. Which perfectly transitions us from these specialized tools to the ultimate predators in the malware ecosystem. Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs.
Yes. If Trojans are the tools, APTs are the masterminds wielding them. We are shifting from a quick smash and grab to a long-term, highly funded espionage campaign.
APTs are completely in a league of their own. They're usually state-sponsored actors or massive, well-funded criminal syndicates.
And their goal is almost never immediate sabotage, right? They don't want to break your computer.
No. They want sensitive information, defense secrets, financial records, proprietary intellectual property, and they are defined by incredible resources and extreme patience.
The APT lifecycle is just chillingly methodical. Step 1 is preparation. They research their target extensively. Step 2 is initial intrusion, usually via a highly targeted spear phishing email or exploiting a zero-day vulnerability.
Which is a flaw in software that the vendor doesn't even know exists yet.
Right, so they have the secret key, and once they get that initial foothold on just one machine, they move to Step 3, expansion. The goal here is lateral movement. That single compromised laptop probably doesn't hold the defense secrets, you know?
Exactly. So the APT scrapes the memory of that first computer, looking for password hashes of network administrators who might have logged in recently. And once they steal those admin rights, they can quietly unlock every other door in the network.
Then comes Step 4, persistence. They need to ensure they don't lose access, even if the IT department reboots the servers or runs an antivirus sweep.
So they hide in brilliant, overlooked places. They'll install customized malware in routers or network printers devices that are rarely, if ever, scanned for malware. There's a backdoor called Tiny Turla NG, operated by a Russian cyber espionage group known as Turla.
Right, and to maintain command and control without triggering alarms, they don't just connect directly to a malicious IP address.
No, they route their communications through completely unrelated compromised WordPress websites. To a network defender watching the traffic logs, it just looks like an employee's computer occasionally browsing a normal, benign blog.
It's brilliant camouflage, which leads to Step 5, search and exfiltration. Patiently gathering the target data, encrypting it, and secretly smuggling it out of the network. Again, mimicking normal business traffic so data loss prevention alarms don't go off.
But Step 6 is the one that really shows their sophistication.
Step 6 is cleanup. This is the one that gets under my skin. If a regular hacker breaks in, they smash the place up, steal the TV, and run. An APT breaks in, lives in your attic for 2 years, reads your diary every night, and then makes your bed perfectly in the morning so you never even suspect they were there.
That attic analogy is spot on. During the cleanup phase, they actively erase their tracks. They meticulously delete their own log files. But the really insidious part is how they handle the files they manipulated.
Right, through a technique called time stomping. Because every file on your computer has metadata, like creation dates, last modified dates. If an APT alters a crucial system file on Tuesday to install a backdoor, a security analyst could theoretically search for any files modified on Tuesday and catch them.
So the APT manipulates the master file table, or the file metadata itself. They artificially change the last modified timestamp of their compromised file back to 3 years ago, matching the rest of the original system files.
They intentionally blind the security analysts, making the system appear exactly as it was before the breach.
It's a completely different level of psychological and technical warfare.
It really is. So just looking at the journey we've taken today, we started with the silent execution of an infected USB drive and the resource-draining gray area of adware. We unpacked the multi-layered architecture of Trojans, how droppers, wrappers, and cryptors work together to execute fileless malware directly in your RAM while distracting you with a dancing cake. We explored specialized hitmen that rewrite your local browser memory to steal bank credentials or generate fake chip signatures at retail stores. And finally, we looked at the terrifying patience of advanced persistent threats living silently in the network attic. The entire landscape is defined by deception, leveraging human trust.
Which brings up a fundamental question that I want to leave our listeners to mull over.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Since almost all of these threats, from a simple banking Trojan to a nation-state APT, rely entirely on operating at the exact same privilege level as the user who clicked the link, it begs the question. In the modern digital age, is the concept of user privileges fundamentally broken?
Wow.
If your computer inherently trusts you without question, and modern malware can perfectly mimic your actions, how do we ever truly secure a system without removing human agency altogether?
That is a heavy, necessary thought to end on, because the call isn't just coming from inside the house. The call is the house. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take that question with you, stay curious, and please think twice and